and welcome to this edition of the Exploited Times. Allow me to welcome an esteemed guest.
He isn't coming. He says he won't be discredited.
Forgive me, it appears as though our esteemed guest won't be joining us after all. Which may be just as well, as it is likely he doesn't know what he's talking about, which is frequently the case, so few guests manage to get it right, as they insist on adhering to their idiotic claims. But no matter, we shall continue with our topic this afternoon forthwith, entitled The March to Infinity, How to Fill a Planet. Now, babies are very cute. We won't dispute that. All kinds of babies, not just human babies. Some believe that baby polar bears are among the cutest species of baby, and we won't dispute that either. Now, perhaps that's what the planet was put here for, is to say, to fill it up with babies, many of whom will grow bigger over time. If so, then we may be on track for success in realizing this objective, because the human inhabitants of this world have more than doubled their numbers in the last 50 years, and at that current rate will double their numbers again in the next 50. And this is very good news for economists, because prevailing economic theory is predicated upon infinite growth. And under this theory, numbers can continue to increase in size infinitely, thereby allowing infinite freedom in accounting, since an infinite mathematical realm knows no boundaries. As such, this model has gained universal popularity, and continuous expansion is the common denominator driving the principle. Here today we will apply this mathematical model to the physical arena in which it is practiced. In our case, this will be in or on the planet known as Earth. So, for the sake of simplicity, let's pretend Earth is a cage and people are rabbits. Rabbits can live in a cage as long as they've got food and water, and the cage gets cleaned out regularly. However, eventually the rabbits wind up multiplying like rabbits, and pretty soon they won't all fit in the same cage. Thus, more cages are needed to house them, and some rabbits move away to other cages somewhere else where they can live as long as they've got the food and water they need, and the cage gets cleaned out regularly. This is where we encounter a small snag in the theory when it applies to humans and Earth. So far, humans have been living in just one cage, and it's never been cleaned. The cage does have a large body of water in it, the ocean. So luckily, all the shit can be thrown into the ocean to maintain a relatively livable cage. This cage also has a lot of food in it, so the humans have been able to live and multiply, much like their rabbits in their cage. But let's remember, once the rabbits multiplied, some of them got taken to another cage to live. Up to now, Earth is the only cage we know for humans, so it's not likely that they'll be taken to a new cage once they no longer fit. This is not an economic problem, because in economics, one merely needs to add a decimal place to move out of his proverbial economic cage and into a brand new fresh cage, one which has conveniently an infinite supply of available decimal places afforded the economist for just such an occasion. Here is where it becomes evident the disconnect between the prevailing economic model of infinite growth and the physical model of infinite growth when we apply it to our physical realm of Earth, defined by the planet. Of course, if we were to expand the physical model beyond the planet Earth cage model and use a model defined by infinite characteristics, well, then this disconnect would become less evident. Now, perhaps this is why what appears to be a quite obvious disconnect has failed to influence the prevailing model of infinite growth, since it continues to be unilaterally applied to the species and its cage, just as if the cage possessed infinite characteristics. It's even been stated by some economic leaders that, quote, there's no reason to believe, unquote, that the characteristics of our cage aren't, in fact, infinite. So there we have it. Some of us, notably those in economic power, insist that the characteristics of our realm, known as Earth, are infinite. And others, notably those who have applied the rabbit-human cage-Earth model, insist that the characteristics of the realm known as Earth are not infinite. And thus, we continue our march into infinity. We thank you for joining us this afternoon on the Exploited Times.